Esoteric. And they got all his videos, and like they all used to kind of do stuff together back in the day. This dude named it's the book I was telling you about, Spiritual Centers in Man.
Yeah.
The dude Manly P. Hall.
Yeah.
Like all them dudes from back in the 20s and 30s that was, you know, up on, they all clicked up together. But they got he has like a whole society now that he's passed, and like his society puts up all these videos, and he's like probably one of the better lecturers. Like, you know, is like what he says is digestible, you can understand it, and he does a good job of not being too, you know, like, yo, the right angle, my brother is this, that, and you know, he's like, he puts it in a way to where it's like very pragmatic. You know what I'm saying? So you could see like the spiritual teachings, but you see it at a very like today's kind of flow, and it makes sense.
I like
stuff they all clicked up, man. That master key system. Like when my boy told me, he was like, yeah, you read Think, just like I asked you. You read Think and Grow Rich?
Yep.
Like, yeah, and he was like, yo, Master Key was like Think and Grow Rich is the redacted version of the Master Key. And so, you know, if you want the extra shit, go to the Master Key system, and you learn the totality of everything.
Definitely will. I definitely.
Yeah. I think in one of the differences between Think and Grow Rich and Master Key, Napoleon Hill visits a place that Charles, I think his name is Charles Hannah Wooden, which was, like you're saying, a little bit further in esotericism. So I think Napoleon Hill get to talk about dreaming and talking to people in your dreams or something. Charles Hannah wouldn't touch that. He wouldn't touch hypnotism or nothing of the sort. So he really got into like, Napoleon Hill ventured off a little bit into his own, you know, you can see where he deviated a little bit from what the Master Key was teaching. But I mean, the Master Key, I don't think I told you this last week, Mike, that it's not a book to read through. Like, it's a system. The system is not a read through book. It's really application. So as you are taking in the principles, then it's the application process on the back end on how to enforce those or reinforce those principles you just learned, and how to practice with it. It's like a week per lesson or chapter per se. And it's like really kind of trying to get you in there.
And you know what too? Sam and I, we discussed why, I don't want to say why it took us so long to actually start reading for pleasure, but I guess we had a conversation along those lines. And a lot of times we kind of either didn't finish the book or didn't realize what the purpose was because we couldn't put it in the application.
That's me.
That's everybody. I mean,
I got a book on how to read.
There's a book called, it's an ancient book, comes from the Roman Empire. It's called Rhetorica ad Herennium, written by Cicero. And what he talks about in there, it's really like what they're teaching in there is rhetoric, like how to speak publicly. So like a lot of lawyers and stuff read this book initially to go through like their art, you know, reasoning, all those kinds of things, argument, all those kinds of things. But at its core, what the shit really is a memory system, and how to get things from outside to stick into your memory so that you can recall it at will. And what they talk about in there is like, yo, the two parts of learning anything is there's the theoretical side, but then you have to have that hands-on piece to actually apply it. And that's the whole thing with like self-help these days. There's a lot of self-help that teaches you a lot of theory, but it doesn't show you how to actually put certain things into practice, or what things you need to do to be able to practice that theory so that you really understand it in a way that you can have mastery over the subject. And that's, you know, that's just the reality of most of the way a lot of books are written, period. Like, you know, whether they be modern or back in the day, it's a lot of theory. And so you have to, if they don't provide the hands-on application, you have to kind of figure out what that is in order to get that into your memory so that it's applicable.
Yeah, man.
But hold on. How to read
A book.
Really?
Yeah, man. And like you're saying, reading for pleasure, it's like, I think that's the training that we kind of, I talk often about this first grade teacher who had a lot that stuck in us. So even with music, we used to put on jazz after we come back in from lunch. And he give us like 15 minutes of jazz, Duke Ellington or Coltrane or whatnot, Miles. And then you know, you listening, even classical. And then we listening for the crescendo, and you see what I'm saying? So everything was a real lesson. Like, yo, you can, like you saying, you got to formulate or foment your taste. Knowing what you're doing allows for you to, you see what I'm saying, determine what's good and what's not for you per se. But yeah, man. So yeah, you got Napoleon Hill did 2 books. He got the Think and Grow Rich, which is his most, I guess, famous book. And I can remember, man, this one chick gave me the book just on some humbug, like, here, I want you to have this. And I probably was maybe 19. I'm like, you know, and I put the book to the side because I'm like, you know, I'm on some other stuff. I ain't trying to see this. But I went back and looked at it. I had actually bought it and then realized that I had 2 copies. So I spent some time with that, but this is his other book that's real similar to, trying to pull a cover up for you. It ain't no cover. Real similar to his, to the Master Key system. It's called The Laws of Success, the course. This is the only cover that I can pull.
In 16 lessons. That's interesting to me.
So yeah. So this is a little bit different than Think and Grow Rich. Similar, but a little different.
I'm probably well, I feel like I've done it, and I don't know how I missed the Master Key, but I'm gonna go back down the Napoleon Hill rabbit hole.
Well, the Master Key is Charles Hannah. So that's the
nah, that's the new okay, you talking about the Master Key system. That's the new. The original Master Key was also Napoleon Hill.
Let me pull it for you.
The OG.
Yeah, I think this guy come before him. Let me pull it.
Yes, I'm familiar with that one as well. I've not read it, but I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, he comes before them. So this should be the preface for Napoleon Hill and everybody. This is 1912 published.
Got you. Okay, I was not aware of that.
And how I got to this was a damn app. I had a I do not have an app on my phone. I usually have it on all my phones. I'm gonna pull the app, but the app had pretty much
Scribed.
No, it's really good. This app. It'll take me some time. I can't even think of the damn name. But the app, what it did was seemingly it pulled and pooled books based on genre. So like if you wanted to learn control of the body, You see what I'm saying? It had like a certain set of books. They had P.T. Barnum in there on the art of selling, and and then it had success mastery, mindset. I'm gonna find the app and then I'm gonna let you know. But you at the time I got it, it was free. Like every book on there was free. It was at least about 30 books.
Shit, Audible used to be that way.
Oh,
Audible
yeah?
used to be free. Yeah, Audible used to be free before Amazon got them.
Yeah, I would think this is still free. I just need to figure out exactly the name because it's been a minute since I revisited.
And
it's gonna be on my purchase list though.
Steve was telling me about a book of what is it called? Damn, what's the thing you're doing right now, Steve? With the it's similar to what Kevin just described, where you learn about a specific topic through lectures and books.
Lucid, the Lucid app. The Lucid app. And so Lucid does this thing where and they're like more of an upstart. So it's like their library isn't the fullest, but what they do is think of it kind of like they do really in-depth what's the joint we used to get when we were in school when you didn't want to read the whole book? Cliff Notes.
Cliff Notes.
So it's like very, very in-depth, quick, like kind of Cliff Notes for these for some of the most popular books that are out there. And now they're starting to expand their library to, if you want philosophy, there's like Schopenhauer, there's this, there's that, there's this, and so, but it's all done with like visualization. So instead of just reading Cliff Notes and getting like paragraph for paragraph, it's like they break out what the main points of the book are, and then they go really in depth from the main points with these visualizations that help you kind of understand the material and pick it up a bit quicker, which is pretty interesting. The couple that I've looked at one for like a couple books that I've already read, and I felt that it did a pretty good job of like talking about what the going over like, what the main points of the summary. Book, the more exactly. It was like an excellent summary. So I don't know if I would recommend that, as I'm still kind of discovering that and seeing all what it does and how good it really is, but it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up. I'm gonna send it to you in the text when I get my other phone, because I think I downloaded it under another phone. But yeah, that's good. Also got a as you saying, I got a PDF file of maybe 150 books, similar to what you're saying, on like a Cliff Note type base. So each one is a PDF that I got from one of my clients. He gave me a memory stick on it. He owns at the time, which is about 5 years ago, he owned every Papa John's from Compton to Hawthorne. And then
really?
Then he had 2 Denny's, or 1 Denny and 2 not Taco Bell, Del Tacos. He was like,
it just got bought out.
Oh, I wonder where he at with it, because this dude was, he was about 45 and sitting on top of the hill in Palisades. Like, he said, whatever you do before you pass, get you a franchise. It's one of those, you don't have to figure it out. He said, he's like, you got to work it.
It's turnkey.
It's turnkey.
Yeah. And
it's all about
Denny's. Yeah. My brother, he manages different restaurants. Now he trains franchisees. And Denny's is like, I believe he told me it's $2 million to buy a Denny's franchise.
With that, and what shocked me with it was these are low cost businesses in a sense of the price for consumers that turn crazily, that's amazing to me. Like, sometimes you're thinking that you need to sell at a high price point. They kill a game on a low point.
Volume. Easy. When I came back to California, what was that, 2013? I was back I'm in San Bernardino,
Okay.
and in this area, there's a family that basically that was his situation. It was the patriarch of the family worked for McDonald's for a very long time in the business office, and worked with franchises and got the idea like, oh, I know everything about this since I work behind the scenes. I know everything about this. Let me put my money together, get a franchise. Um, and so they got like a couple McDonald's out here, but then they slowly just grew that. And as a matter of fact, that business is now, it's like the next generation is now running that business. And matter of fact, they do a couple Buffalo Wild Wings out in LA. They got, like they know the process, you know what I'm saying? And so now that they know the process, like you said, it's turnkey at this point.
So
And
I'm actually glad you. Oh, go ahead, Steve. Go ahead, finish it.
I was gonna say, because
Yeah.
I went, and my mom is a good friend of his, and so my mom connected me with him. And when I was trying to do a cigar kind of business, and he, he was just like, he was like, I gotta be honest with you, this ain't my thing. Like you see where we're at. I met him at one of the McDonald's that he runs, and he was like, we're used to volume. It's all about volume. Get as many people up in your door as possible. The cigar thing isn't necessarily the same, kind of business. And it's one of those things that made me think like, okay, yeah, Veblen Goods is nice, but like when you get some of that, like you said, that franchise money, like things that are, it's like you just turn the faucet on, bro, and it goes. Like you just it's that simple.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, most of the dudes that I knew that were doing cigars is struggling in their businesses now. So it's
Kevin actually has a saying that I think about every time I hear a story like that. What is it, Kevin? Is have one thing you can sell for $1 million and have
million
give it to
things
me,
you can
Kev.
sell for $1, something like
There
that.
it is.
Yeah, have one thing that you sell for $1 million and have a million things that you sell for $1.
Yeah.
Yep.
So while we're on the conversation, you spoke about this patriarch leaving his the next generation the franchise businesses. And I've seen Rick Ross do this for his son recently. He left basically to his son for his 18th birthday or something like that. He gifted him a what's the wing spot he owns?
Wingstop.
Oh well, yeah, Wingstop. So he gifted him a Wingstop, and he was like, gift giving has to be a little bit different, the way that we're doing things. Do you guys feel that leaving your kids a business is good business? Because oftentimes, your kids don't have the same passion that you have, and whether they'll either squander off the money or they sell the business without realizing the full potential of the actual business. Like, do you guys think that's a good look, or do you think that a gift of a different type would be better to give to them so that they can make their own decision with regard to business or with regard to how they want to I guess navigate through life?
I'll let you go first, Steve, and then I'll jump in. I mean, I can go. I just want you to guess.
I mean, my thing is, so this is obviously I'm not in that situation at this point in time. So it's like, most of my stuff is going to be very hypothetical. But when I look back, like a big thing for me is like looking back at how our ancestors did things. And when I say our ancestors, I mean prior to this American experiment that we got caught up in. And the reality is that's how family lines were generated, is like whatever trade you had as the father, the idea is, as your kids start coming of age, they are learning different aspects of the business. They are, you know, by virtue of the fact of being in the household, number one, but also, you know, take your kids to work. Let them understand like this is how certain parts of the business run. And by doing that generation after generation, even if the kids have a different passion, they'll be able to have a foothold in a business early on while they either study or while they do other things. And so to me, it just seems like the natural, whatever skill that you have should be passed down to the child in one way, shape, or form or other. My in-laws run a newspaper here in San Bernardino, the Black newspaper here in San Bernardino. But you know, the son does graphic design, so it's like, hey, now this is now something that you could plug in to assist this part of it. And actually, when I talk to my brother-in-law, that's the story he gives is, you know, I just had a interest in this, and by virtue of the fact of my dad doing XYZ, I was able to, you know, brush up on my skill level with this thing, and now we can plug it in. But you know, even if it's something like accounting, you know, accounting is a skill that you can take to any business. So it's like, yo, somebody has interest in being an accountant, yo, let me show you how we run our books, da 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 da. Like there's always a way to plug, it seems like there's always a way to plug it in so that the next generation will be able to kind of take it on and pass the torch.
So I get a chance to piggyback. So that's where I was going. First thing I was thinking was Rick Ross. Even though he left his son the business, I doubt his son is in full control of the business. He's, you know, he's a steward, you get what I'm saying? Or you know, he's learning. He's an apprentice per se, learning the books. So for my kids, yes, leave them the business. Initially, you know, I started the business for me, not having anyone in front of me with the business put me at ground zero. So I'm learning how to do business, you see what I'm saying, from ground zero. And then as I'm growing, I'm like, yo, my kids can't start from ground zero. So giving them the business, just like you said, allows for them to come within springtime. I took my son with me when he's on break. He goes to work with me. You see what I'm saying, make some money, meet some different people, see different environments, because you know now we driving maybe in the more affluent neighborhoods, and then getting that little bit of ethic, you know, hey, I'm tired, but hey, you got to work through that, you see what I'm saying? Right. But also, as you're saying, it allows for them as they get older to start using their interests within the business as a free ground to learn and make mistakes on my dime.
Sandbox. Yeah.
Right. So now you get to make the mistakes on my dime and learn, so that when you decide if you want to keep the business or move to something else, you have the skills, the resume, the experience, you see what I'm saying, everything you need to get that next step up. So it's definitely necessary. Like, I think if you can do it, like as you said, in any kind of craft, if you a janitor, you know what I'm saying, no knock on those, the engineers, custodians, take your kids with you. I had a homeboy whose father cleaned buildings. Had one of those, I don't know if it was Detail or whatever, Detail Kings or whatever, however they, some kind of like turnkey business janitorial company. But when he transitioned, his son took over because he was going to work with him. So he was able to keep not only the money for his family, you see what I'm saying, that would have been lost if your parents passed, but he also, you see what I'm saying, was able to bring in a few friends, and then those friends was able to take some of those lessons they learned and create their own businesses. You see what I'm saying, as everybody transitioned out of that. So it gave skill to the neighborhood or the community per se. So like you're saying, talking, you know, our experience pre-America, like you need those skills for the community. And you know, your family is your immediate community, so yeah, you want to teach them how to pretty much fish.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think those are good points, and I feel like just kind of watching it firsthand. Like my son was allowed to put, you know, my real estate business, and shit, several other people were allowed to put my business on their resume, who didn't have any work experience. Even my daughter right now, she's working at the bank. So Crenshaw just got a $87 million influx, Crenshaw High School. And they ended up putting a Union Bank in the actual school to teach kids more about financial literacy and start bank accounts and all that type of shit. So my daughter got the opportunity to actually become an employee of Union Bank. And, by using one of my companies on her resume, it made her a stronger candidate, for them to consider. And, I doing that for a lot of people, it allows you to kind of put them in a position that they may not have been in otherwise. And I feel like that's the important part, just to show your kids like, yo, if you start early and you have something like this that's beneficial in this way, you can then help somebody else. And, in our community, it should be a each one teach one.
Yeah, you don't have to rob them of their childhood. You get what I'm saying? I think that's the issue that people are thinking, like, oh, if he becomes a business owner, then he's no longer a kid. Like, nah, you just want him involved in it. Where, you see what I'm saying? There's gonna be some points where my son's gonna have to do, like, yo, you came out with me. You see what I'm saying? We out here for 6 hours. Like, you're gonna work 6 hours. You're gonna take the breaks like everybody else taking. But you don't gotta come out here with me every day, you know what I mean? And you giving up basketball practice or something, you get what I'm saying? Yeah. You balance it, but you definitely, Rick Ross is doing well, and it gives his son a sense of pride.
Right.
That's mine. It's like one thing me and my kids talk about is, especially with the youngest, 7 years old, he's like, yo, so you gonna make me the owner, right? Like, hey dad, he works with you, he works for you, like, yeah, you get what I'm saying? So that is building him in a different mindset.
I think what you just said is super, super important. It I didn't come from a group of people who were entrepreneurs. Both of my parents college educated, went and worked. My dad worked in aerospace for a long time, my mom worked in government for a long time. And that's in their head, that was the model, go to school, da 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 da. But I'll tell you, like, whenever I had, like, even at this point, and I'm 40 now, right? And so I've lived my life up to this point, working for other people, and I've had like side hustles that have been like here and there, but nothing that's like been able to sustain itself for long-term growth and then pivot into something else. And I feel like that's what I'm trying to build now. But the reality is that for me, I always had this wall up that was like, because I didn't see it, it always seemed like this insurmountable like thing. Like, yo, people like built their own products and people packaged it. How do you do? And it's just like, because that was not in my awareness at all. There was for a very long time a block there. And I feel like what you just said, you show a real reachable goal for that, for anybody that's younger than you, that's around it. Especially your son. If your son is, just by osmosis, him being in the same household that you are, with you doing what you're doing, it shows a level of, oh, this is possible. This isn't something that I don't need backing from, like, these investors, da 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 da. And like, there's a road to, it's just like what we said with the learning anything. It's like, there's the theory behind it, and then the hands-on. And when they're getting to see the hands-on results, it just makes that leap a little less challenging, and it doesn't put that block up for your kids. You know what I'm saying? Right. You show them that, yo, it's possible.
Yeah.
And they get to see everything firsthand. Like, they around the house, they see the logos, they see the marketing. Materials, they see you go in and go out, they see you on a computer, you see what I'm saying, working, like everything that, like you saying, that it needs to say, like, okay, this is normal, this is normal.
But yeah, they see dedication, they see discipline, and I feel like that, I mean, those are lessons in itself that they can't necessarily learn at school. I mean, they try to teach, they try to teach us, discipline and dedication at school, but realistically, we were all getting the same education. And one of the things that I forget which book it was that said this, but you know, their whole thing was, I told both of you guys, they have standardized testing, but they don't have a standardized curriculum. And you know, if we're supposed to if we're supposed to all pass this one, you know, test that everybody should get a 1600 on, or whatever it is, why not teach me how to do that? When I've gotten certifications outside of actually going to school, I've had crash courses that taught me exactly what these questions are on the test, so that I can pass this actual test and become, you know, like successful and apply what it is that I'm learning with these actual certifications.
Man, 100%. 100%. That makes me think of like my grandpa. My grandfather would always talk about you know, the cycles of society. And he was born in the 30s, went to the Air Force when he was like 16, you know, learned a trade in the Air Force, and then left the Air Force, worked at Xerox for a number of years until he retired. And he used to always tell us, he was like, your generation, like this whole university, get your, you know, he was like, yo, the generation after you it's gonna go back to what we had, where it's learn a trade, learn a skill, and that skill will be able to carry you throughout the rest of your life. And as a matter of fact, that skill is gonna put you in a better position to actually run your own business and be an entrepreneur rather than working for somebody else. And you know, it was hard for me to see back in 99 when I graduated high school. But now, like even now, like the company I work for now is basically a trade school teaching people digital skills. And you see the kind of jobs that are, you know, that these kids are getting after taking a cybersecurity class for 10 months, you know, taking a coding class for 10 months. And then they're able to, you know, whether they want to get that job or whether even they want to do something that's more, you know, freelance or whatever it is, or a little bit of both. It opens up those options for you. And I think what happened was, in this country, education, you know, at the university level changed like in the 60s. I feel like everything I read is like, yo, there was a certain time where the universities were really about educating, and now it's more about getting a degree just so you can get a job. And you may not even, the major you take may not have anything to do with, you know, what you do. Like my mom got her degree in speech pathology. She did nothing that was in the vein of speech pathology, like whatsoever. So, you know, it's just, I think the way education's being done now, I mean, there's always a give and take with everything. You know, if you're just being trained on how to do stuff, you start losing the humanities. But you can always learn those kinds of things yourself. The social, you know, the social aspect, the arts, you know, if you have a desire for those things, you can always go back and learn it, especially now you know, we live in the information age. You know, you can go on YouTube, learn how to play the saxophone if you want to, you know what I'm saying? Like there's all those options available to you. So I feel like, and it makes me also think of this book I read recently, which I wouldn't necessarily say y'all should read this book. It's called Woke Racism. It's by a black dude that I think wants to be a white man. But
it's fairly new, isn't it?
It's fairly new. But he's, you know, one of the chapter that you know, most of this book I was reading and was like, but the one chapter that he wrote in that book that I was like, he's on point here, was when he was talking about education. And he was just like,
Yeah, I think we lost some audio.
Oh man, Steve, you froze up.
Yeah, I just heard about that woke racism. Dr. Greg Carr, I don't know if he spoke on it or if he had it just in his background, but definitely something I was looking at, going like, hey, I want to check that out.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
No, that's,
well, you know, one of the things that Steve touched on, which is
he back. Let's see if he catches picture back. Yeah. think he got to okay. Switching up on us.
My bad.
Yeah.
My laptop was like, nah,
Took a
bro.
dive, huh?
But he was talking about specifically education, but he was specifically talking about man, I can't even think of the name of the word, affirmative action. And he talks about how affirmative action is actually a detriment to Black students in the educational system. And dude ran the numbers and all this other stuff. And then even just my own experience, like, what he said in there, like, spoke to my own experience in university. And it's just one of these things where, again, when the Black economy was really popping, it was because we had Black entrepreneurs in our neighborhoods, and it wasn't, have a trade. And by having a trade, that's how you really benefit. This whole idea that everybody needs a college degree, everybody needs a master's, everybody needs it's like, it doesn't serve anymore. And that's the fact of the matter. And so, man, you're absolutely right. That education should be more like trade related rather than go to this 4-year university, spend $30,000 a year, get in debt.
That's it right there. It's a profit. It's a cash cow. Education has become a cash cow. And even with what you said before, with regard to education being a more intimate type thing, and people were more invested in actually educating students, it's become a thing to where warm bodies and seats yield funding. Yep. And the more they can do that, the more funding each district gets, or the more funding goes to this school, or the more funding goes to this principal, or these teachers, or it's basically just it's a money thing, bro. And it's fucked up because it doesn't matter if the children are learning or not, as long as they're there. Like, the only thing they're concerned about is whether or not the attendance is accurate. And if the attendance is accurate, then there's dollars coming in. Let your kid miss a week of school with no explanation.
Oh yeah.
But in the same token, let your kid be sliding from a D to an F. You don't hear shit from the teacher for the whole semester.
Not at all.
But if that attendance isn't there.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you, I think that's the misconception that we have, is we have the misconception that the way the educational system works in this country is really to the benefit of the child. And the reality is that it's to the benefit of the government, because the economy, because what education does, and if you look at the history of education, it was meant to socialize children more so than anything else. And so, you're basically creating the next, once this generation dies off, what the next generation. And so you're being taught all these things to mold your mind into a particular it's programming. And so you're molding a group of students' minds to see things from a very particular perspective. And so, this is why creativity kind of goes by the wayside. Like, these aren't the things, they, even with education now, public education now, there's no more music in a lot of these schools. Mm-hmm. There's no more arts education in a lot of these schools. And that's where that creative aspect of things kind of comes from. It's like, yes, you can learn quote unquote facts. But even facts, depending on what the subject is, unless it's math, even those facts are subjective to a certain point. You know what I'm saying?
Hey man, he who wins the war writes the history.
Writes the history, right? There's a YouTube channel that I subscribe to that has a lot of real thought-provoking kind of content, but in one particular thing, and I gotta find it, I'll send it to you, Mike. When they specifically talk about the history of public school, the public school system, and how it started in the Kingdom of Prussia with the idea to conform minds to all see things the same way. And the guy that started public education in the United States, Horace Mann, is like basically traveled to Prussia, took notes on their whole system, and was like, yeah, we need that here in the United States. And so you have teachers that are following a curriculum that's been set up by a group of people in the office in the state capital of whatever state you're living in that have no real, they're not grassroots. They're not on the level of what these communities need. Exactly. They're disconnected. And so again, it just becomes this thing where like you said, warm bodies and seats, and making sure that, the funding is there so that we can keep paying people to do a particular job to help the economy run and create workers for the future economy.
Wait, hold on. Stop there. So the fact that you said create workers, that just that in itself is just troubling to hear, bro, because it goes against everything what Kevin was talking about earlier. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, so it goes against giving students that exposure to entrepreneurialism and to that creative mindset outside of whatever they're learning in school. You know what I mean? Right. Because or not learning, whatever they're being programmed.
I mean, programming is learning. Learning is programming, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So this is a good segue into the topic for today.
There we go.
Two of them. One, how do you define success? Because now that we're talking about school and entrepreneurialism, where does success lie within that? And then to bring it to very, very present times, did we buy into fluff using social media?
That second thing you said, expound on that a little bit more. What do you I feel like there's a more specific point that you wanted to get at there that you're aiming at. And I'm very, very curious to hear what that is.
So the question I have written is, are we using social media correctly from a business standpoint?
No. Absolutely not.
And
absolutely
then
not.
And then
hold on.
And then the fluff is, are we spending money and time in a hamster wheel trying to attain something that's unattainable through this media?
Some of us are, not everybody. I've done some social media marketing for some folks, and everybody that I've done it for they have no idea. Like, I feel like the people that I've done this for who have contacted me for assistance with like social media marketing don't really have a business. Like, it's more about popularity and being seen. But real interesting note, me and Mr. McCain had a conversation a while back where he pretty much asked kind of the same question, Kevin, that you just asked. And the reality is that the way that social media works, the way it operates is like, it's just like any kind of form of knowledge. This is how common people use it. And then there's the esoteric behind the scenes, flip up the hood and see how this shit really actually works type shit. And, the problem with using it in the common way is that we see everybody's successes. We see everybody post like these really great positive things that they're doing. But you don't get a chance to see the real work that goes on behind the scenes. And so it gives the sense of, I could do that. Like, when people just see it, when people see a certain type of social media marketing or something that catches their eye, they automatically have in their mind, yo, I could do that. And they start doing it and they don't get the traction that they were hoping to get. And then they just either most people just kind of let it go at that point without really doing a little bit more knowledge as to how the algorithms work. What's the actual process of going about it's not about just posting your normal post and buying an ad and making that an ad, and that's something that you typically see with just and I won't even say Black businesses. I'll say, because this goes beyond Black folks, I think, even too. Homegrown businesses, grassroots community businesses, they don't have the first idea of how to actually, trot out a social media plan that's going to be effective for them. And then to a larger extent, I would say that most businesses don't know how to market themselves in a way that's conducive to their business. And the thing is that it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of research, and it takes a lot of understanding of how human beings are wired, what's going to connect with certain people. Did you build out your personas, that your business is aiming at? Did you do A and B testing on this campaign to make sure that one version of the copy is better than another version of the copy? These are the things that a lot of people don't do. They feel like I can do graphic design. Let me boom, 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 put something together real quick, post it. And it's like, dog, you haven't researched the hashtags. You haven't researched how this actually works. How do you actually attain growth? What are the strategies involved? And that's the thing. The shame of it is that information is all out there for anybody that really wants to do a quick Google search. You don't even have to pay a ton of money for education specifically within digital marketing to get a lot of the basic information that you need to actually start your own program. But yeah, that social media is it's a spectacle. Just like anything else, it's the spectacle that we go to because that's the watering hole that everybody's at. And we just figure because everybody's on Instagram, I can post something and people are naturally going to be drawn to whatever I'm posting, and thus my business. And it's a lot more complicated than that. With that being said, I would say that anybody that avails themselves of that kind of knowledge and information, and they have a product that is viable, social media, digital marketing in general is such a powerful tool, bro. It's amazing what a small business can do if they know how to market themselves correctly with not much of a budget.
So I take it this is what you do.
This is one of the businesses that I'm trying to me and my wife are trying to get up and running at this point in time. So we're still doing a lot of studying and trying to figure things out and start getting to the point where we feel comfortable. Because that was even me. It's like a lot of the clientele that were coming to me that were just people that I knew. So now it's like, okay, how do I attract a certain type of business that's going to fit with not even just the kind of money that I want to make, but the lifestyle that I want to live as well. And so trying to just get all that figured out is, it's a lot of work. And like I said, when I first jumped into it, I was the dude that was like, I could do this. And I took like an Instagram class, and I tried some things out on a burner account that I had, and it worked like gangbusters in terms of developing a following. But then it was like I didn't have anything really to sell at the end of that. So then it was like, oh, I need to work on product development. I need to work on these other aspects. Do I want to do inbound marketing, outbound? All of those things that I had to start figuring out. And I was like, oh, this is a much deeper well than I originally anticipated. I need to avail myself of some more knowledge before I try to hit the market with it. And so that's kind of where me and my wife are now with the situation.
Amazing. I didn't know I was getting you today. I had no idea. When I woke up, it hit me to ask, what's the purpose of advertising? I had to, I'm like, what is the purpose of advertising? So, the new year come around, you get a chance to kind of reflect and inflect on what you're doing, what's working, what you should be doing, or what you think you should be doing. And I kept looking, I'm going, social media for my business at this particular time, for me to have a million followers is not conducive to me generating revenue in the way that I want revenue.
Right.
So I had to sit down and go, damn, so who really is my audience? And how do I really reach those people? And if me being on social media or spending time here is even worth me, because my audience just may not be there. So and the background of that is, so my company service condo locations. So we got 5 condo locations right now across Los Angeles. We wash cars in these buildings.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the clients are, 40, 45, 50, you see what I'm saying, millionaires. They still either own business or top executives, but they not necessarily on social media for the purpose of looking at my pictures.
Right.
And then if you see my pictures, how does that make you want to buy from me?
Right.
So I'm going, damn, what part am I missing in my message? You see what I'm saying? To turn these pretty much, I guess we call them warm leads into hot leads. Because the building know that I'm there, but not everybody knows how to use me. So I had started, my breakdown of what I think I should be doing. And I came down with pretty much the questions I was asking was, how does my business, well, first question was, how should I be using social media? That was my first question. Then my second question to myself was, how does my business make money?
Right.
And then the third question was, how do I want to expand my business?
Mm-hmm.
And then the fourth question was, okay, so now that you want to expand, what are the messages that I need to push on these social media channels to expand the business?
Right.
And then, which led me lastly to who is my audience?
Let me ask you a quick question. So for your business, I would imagine that your biggest business development, for business development, the biggest thing that you do is try to land the actual condos where you could come in and set up and offer these services to whoever might be living in the condo complex.
Correct.
Okay. What's the next step? So like, let's say I'm the person that I'm the gatekeeper, I'm the decision maker at the condo complex.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin, I love your product. I would love to have you guys come in on 2 days a week or whatever, and set up shop so you can do this. What is that next step in terms of your advertising? What does that look like for you?
Traditionally, it's been teaming up with that concierge or the gatekeeper, and we create a pretty much a marketing. Hey, first is, hey, we're going to be on site. So we try to build up. Hey, we coming. And then it's usually been maybe the first 3 or 5 cars is free. So now we're going to give you a little test, get a little buzz from somebody who may want to, you see what I'm saying? Hopefully you picking the people that's going to talk a little bit more about the business. And then we go into pretty much either their email marketing system, this is their internal system, or into their into the lobby as a what we call it, like a display, or into the elevator, something where internally they see that we're there, we show up. I don't have any contacts outside of whatever the the building allows for me to do. So once, watch this. So now, once I get access, now I'm collecting all information, email, phone, boom, boom, boom. And the unique thing about our business is that you have to book online. So I'm able to collect all data. And
question
then from
for
there,
you.
oh, okay.
Sorry about that. No, continue, and I'll ask you a question.
And then from there, now we're on the offense. So now I'm reaching out to everybody.
Got it. Are you currently doing, for people who have, who have taken advantage of your service, are you doing feedback surveys or anything like that for those people?
Very rarely are we doing feedback.
That's going to be your key right there. With inbound marketing, actually any kind of marketing, like you asked the question, what is advertising for, right? Mm-hmm. It's to let people know that your service is available. Essentially, at the end of the day, that's what it is. That's what advertising is for. The best way to get new customers is to have your existing customers being a sounding board to bring in those other customers. So for instance, I live in one of these apartment complexes. I go in for the first time. You do an excellent job. My tires, my wheels, my everything is nice. It's shiny, all of this stuff. More than likely, I'm going to have a conversation probably with one of my neighbors who also lives in the complex and say, yo, have you gotten that car wash yet, bro? Shit is fire. Shit is cheaper than going to here. They do a better job. It's more convenient. So like all of the things that they're going to want to say, you want to get a survey back and ask certain questions to be like, yo, I can now use this data to further draw people into what I'm doing. So now on your website, you have, if somebody filled out a survey, they may leave a comment in the section and be like, yo, Kevin was super professional, got my shit cleaned in 30 minutes and I was able to get out on the road, or whatever the case is. You want to get as much information of people singing your praises, because that's collateral. That's like, monkey see, monkey do, right? Like we all know that that's a thing. So if my whole network sees that and what's the name of your business?
Shine.
Yo, if whoever in my network knows that this is where I get my car wash and my shit is looking fire, you know what I'm saying? People are either going to ask or if I enjoy the service that much, I'm just going to start telling people that it's relevant to be like, hey, now, when you're doing feedback surveys, number one, it puts it in the person's mind that, oh, I should tell somebody about this, especially if I had a good experience. Mm-hmm. But one thing about inbound marketing that they talk about is they talk about not funnels, but they talk about the flywheel. And the flywheel is like a circular turbine that is self-sustaining, that keeps itself going. And the reason it keeps itself going is because of word of mouth of your existing customers is the number one reason. So getting that feedback from your existing customers is the number one thing that you could be doing to generate, more consistent business for yourself.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to implement that real soon. That's a goal. Thank you for that.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
This book that I read called How to Build a $1 Billion App, that was like the idea that they were driving home in that book.
Was feedback surveys?
Feedback.
Feedback, exactly that. And it was talking about, I forget which specific company it was talking about, but they always ask you, even though you've given the feedback, and this is from a consumer's perspective, even though you've given the feedback, you continue to get this, hey, how's this going for you? 5 stars? Would you like to, leave a review, yada, yada? They say, even, and now from a business perspective, even if your customer has already submitted that feedback, your service could have changed based on the people who you've hired since the last time they've given you feedback.
Right.
And so when they've given a 5-star review, 6 months ago, if you hired a new employee 2 months ago who either was excellent, more excellent than the last time, they're bound to actually leave commentary. Or if the person that you hired did a shitty job or was inconsistent with what you've given them prior, then they're also going to leave that commentary, and it'll
fix that.
Exactly.
Yep.
It can be a driver for change.
Yep.
And
100%.
That's from what I remember going to one of them Damon John seminars that taught on Google. I mean, not Google, but on Amazon. That's their key. Is the feedback system.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you become a Prime member. That's how you become top of their food chain.
Yep.
Bro, it's all about engagement, and that's actually what my dissertation is on. Is how to increase consumer engagement through digital media channels, and that shit is it's probably the most important part about being in the world, about being on social media, about having your product anywhere where somebody else can find it. The more people you get to engage with the actual product or the service, the more internet crawlers you get, and the more you get put into different search histories, and the algorithms start to change just based on people who are actually mentioning your service or product.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Steve. You the guest.
I was just gonna say the psychology of that in the marketplace is very evident right now, because this is the big push for equality right now, is because they want to make sure everybody feels included so that they can continue to spend money with you. This is why Disney will have a Black Ariel, is because Black people spend money on movies. Black people, one thing that's big with Black people is representation. Okay, we want to bring you into the fold because we know you have money, Black folks, Black community. We know you spend your money in a way that other communities don't. So we know if we have a Black Ariel, we've already done the market research that says having a Black Ariel is going to bring this percentage of the Black population to come to this movie now. Now, all the other people who are down with social justice who aren't Black, they're more likely to now come in and spend this money with us. You see all of these at the top of 2020, when George Floyd and all that, you see all these companies all of a sudden throwing their hat in the ring for Black Lives Matter. And it's because that's advertisement. They want you to know, hey, Black people, come spend your money with us. Fuck with you. Or sorry to cut you off, Steve.
Oh no, you could. It could be just on the flip side of that, having people lash out against it is still good publicity.
It's still good
because
publicity.
It's being mentioned, and
look at Louis Vuitton. Look at all these companies that did racist stuff in their clothing lines, and
intentionally.
Look, because the fact of the matter is half of the people that are complaining about it aren't our customers. So but they're gonna help your branding by continuing the company's name, whether that's in a good light, a bad light, whatever. It's like, yo, half of the people that are boycotting Louis Vuitton for whatever racist or Gucci or whoever it was were already not customers of Gucci, Louis Vuitton, what have you. But what happens is they're going to continue to keep that name in your mind. That's just branding. It's branding. And so you keep in your head that, oh, Gucci is this is a luxury brand. And like, even though they're doing X, Y, and Z, people might put their Gucci away in the closet until the shit blows over, and then they're pulling that Gucci out and spending money at the store. The people who actually already purchased those items. So it's smart marketing, bro. Blind thinker because of our history in this country and on the planet. We get our feelings hurt whenever a company does something that's against us, and we feel that we need to speak out. But little do we realize that all we're doing is helping them continue to brand that company. Because the white folks who buy that, they're like, yeah, black people, they are a little monkeyish looking, and they are da da da, and like that in their mindset.
Yeah, it just helps them out.
It helps continue the name of the brand, because without having to spend a dime, bro. All these people, with what you can do in marketing, the information that you can gather and the research you can do before doing any kind of campaign, before putting out any kind of new design, these people know exactly what this is going to do in the marketplace. And this is a game that's been played on the Black community since forever. You remember Tommy Hilfiger shit, where like, oh, you heard Tommy don't like Black people wearing it. It wasn't even true. He never even said it. But Tommy Hilfiger at the time was, it just kept that ball moving, because it kept the name Tommy Hilfiger on half of Black America's mouth. Mm-hmm. It just kept it relevant. And household name.
What's interesting is we was discussing 50 Cent. 50 Cent uses something similar by antagonizing different
trolling,
right? And in that, but he's trolling specific people and whose market he wants to tap.
Yes, sir.
So
that's it. It's smart.
So when I was asking that question, it was saying advertising has pretty much three functions, which is to inform, to persuade, and to remind.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, so when I was thinking, are we using social media correctly? Like, are you, based on your goals, which one of these sectors are you doing? Are you trying to persuade? Are you informing? Are you reminding? I mean, you should be doing all three, in my opinion, but one of them should be a goal.
So, right. Well, that's the thing, is that on a different post, you can focus on a different one of those three, sections. So, one post you might have this is the post that is meant to inform. This next post is meant to remind. This next post is meant to persuade. And, and so you just mix those, kind of those three, salt and pepper that around, with your posts. And, that way you are consistently doing a little bit of all three of those at a certain point in time.
And just because I'm in the Khalil Gibran space right now, thanks to Steve, I feel like I said, since I'm in the Khalil Gibran space right now, thanks to Steve's recommendation on the last book that I read, it's good to actually see it from both sides, from a balanced equation. Because while you're informing, reminding, and advertising to other people, it actually acts as a good way to inform yourself, remind yourself, and persuade yourself that your shit is worth putting in this work for.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, man, like honestly, that both sides of the equation shit is it's real. It's real. You got to look at things from both sides every time.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, man. So what I found in my company is more necessary, and I'm actually very interested in putting the feedback in. A lot of my clients, they say they need reminders because life get busy for them, and specifically for us, I'm not able to integrate myself within the building when I'm not there. So they don't have any reminder that we're even on site. So you book online, so everything is done out of sight. So when we show up, we don't even get keys from the owners. You get what I'm saying? So some people don't have that click. They go, oh yeah, they coming today. So I have to build that. So I was attempting to use social media to build that, and then realize that the people pretty much that's following me has no contact with the building.
But you get all these people when you sign the contract with the building. you mentioned that you get all of their contact information.
No. I can be used in their internal system, but I can't pull their information from the building. I have to get it from the,
So that's that's the other thing that the feedback survey is going to allow you to do. It's going to allow you to have a section in the feedback, and especially if you do it digitally, you can set up a form. And so it automatically go like, hey, let me get your, you can do a text
I have all that
system,
on
an email marketing automation system. And then with the email, so that's one of the things that I used to do. My position was called an SDR, Sales Development Representative. And so we would get cold leads. And then what we would try to do is we would build email marketing campaigns to warm the cold leads and turn them into closed customers. And the thing that we figured out was having an automated email system. Like if you have maybe like 3 or 4 different automated messages that are going to go out, you can time them, you can make them specific to certain contacts. You can keep your database of all the contact information in the right way. It'll automatically put the person's name in there, so it has that personal touch. And you can say, this list of people belong to this particular complex. And so if I know I'm gonna be at this complex on Tuesdays and Thursdays, on Mondays and on Wednesdays, I can send that email blast automatically that sends them the reminder that says, oh, by the way, we're going to be at your spot today. Remember to book your thing, and then you have a link below that's like book here now. And it just it makes your life a lot easier because it's less, in the setup of it, that takes time. But once you already have the ball rolling, you're just basically adding to each of your lists. Every time you get a new customer, and you're maintaining that list. Then when you even flip into a different kind of business, you can maintain that same list and shoot out things for a whole other business or you can even sell that list that you've created at that point to another business and make money that way. I mean, there's just so many opportunities. There's so many opportunities with collecting contact information. It's
what I've done I've been in the detail space for over 15 years now.
Okay.
So I've always had like an 888 phone number that was based on a system that allowed me to collect user data, right? So the phone numbers, and I'll print those out. And I have these lists. So when I text blast, this is something that I learned from when we was doing Club Hollywood promotions, when we used to be a club promoter. We used to get contacts and shit that's going out. Like I remember having to write everybody name in, and you see what I'm saying, in the email before there was any of those
MailChimp or any of those kind of
trying to HTML format a damn email just to get a blast out. So so we collect the data. I just want to know, I want to see if the feedback survey is going to click a reminder per se. Maybe if I time it right, it can also serve as a reminder to get the next service. So I like that. I'm interested in doing that, and I think I have the capability to do that.
Nice. Yeah. And man, I think that'll pay a lot of dividends for your business right there, man. I just those couple of little things, because it's like you said, social media for your type of business. It will pay a dividend to a certain extent, but not in the way that, that's going to poise you for the kind of growth that you're looking to have. I think that the email, the text blast, that personal touch, we're in the age of bespoke right now. Like everybody wants, I want this form fitted and customized for me, whether it be a website, whether it be whatever service, people like that personal touch. And that's what those email blasts kind of allow you to get into. Like I said, if I get an email that says, hey, Steven, this is, Kevin from Shine, like that makes me more apt to click on it. It makes me more apt to actually use that as a reminder. And it just adds that personal touch that so many businesses wish they had that kind of relationship with their customers.
Yeah, so that's why that's what prompted my question about social media, because like you said, you think that you really need to be in this space, and I think you should have a representation in that space.
Yes.
You shouldn't abandon it, but using it correctly would be the benefit. And as we stated, a lot of people not using it correctly. I've seen messages that's maybe too broad, that doesn't push a call to action or anything of the sort. So it's kind of like, so last week I did the show solo. Everybody was still on a Christmas, after Christmas thing. And I'm like, man, I just got to do it, dog tired. But I talked about marketing, and I was going, things is changing. Because of the saturation in social media space, people are ignoring more content than they are consuming.
Right.
And I'm like, something got to change there. And how do we make that change? So that's my driving goal right now. Is, to me, what I've seen is when something is saturated so well that people just start ignoring the whole thing. So regardless if you got a great call to action, if you got a great video, people just kind of scrolling now. Like, yeah, okay. Like, where do we figure out how to make them land on your stuff and stop? Go ahead, man.
I would say for social media, for a business like yours, I have to imagine that a lot of these complexes that you are contracting with have a social media presence. And I would say that here and there. And I would say that a lot of the people that follow the complex are going to be people who live there or people who have an aspiration to live there. And so if you do a targeted social media blast to the followers of those accounts, that's probably going to get you a lot further on social media than just randomly posting.
Also, and this is my goal this year, is to go through my contacts list and find them on social media and follow them. But what I found is that there's a few people in these buildings that everybody is connected to on social.
Yeah.
So that's how I found, because it's still hit and miss on trying to find their Instagram handle or whatever. So and it's hard to get them to come over and follow me. So I'm like, if I find this one person who got the majority of the people following them, then I go through that way. So
now let's go back to feedback surveys. If you're asking every single person who gets a car wash from you at the end of that car wash, what's your email address? What's your Instagram handle? Now, if they're giving you that information, that just makes it a little bit easier to kind of sift through, who those people are and what they're,
I'm going to put that on there. Where are you at? Are you on LinkedIn? Are you on Facebook? Are you on Instagram?
Yes, sir.
The rapport is already built at that point. Well, no, the rapport is built at that point. Your work speaks for itself, and as soon as they see that, they want to. So remember, I was telling you the last thing that the last show that we did. I was like, bro, my companies aren't the flex. I'm the flex. Like I walk in and I'm myself. You know what I mean? So you want to be associated with me, the brand. I want to be associated with everything that Shine represents, because that shit it's a status symbol in itself. People are gonna walk up to one of your clients and be like, yo, who does the vehicle? You know what I
Right.
mean? That's the play. Your work speaks for itself. Your quality, your quality is your integrity. How about that?
So I would say this though. The reality is Kevin, you're not the only, Shine isn't the only game in town,
Not
right?
at all.
There are probably people who use a very similar car wash system to what you have already had. Like these car wash systems, they are mass produced, and then they sell it to any individual that is going into that business. And so even so, the chance that there's another service that does as good of work as what you do is very possible, right? That's in
For
your
sure.
same area. At that point, the thing that sets you apart is building the relationship with your customer at that point. And that's all of those little soft skill things. How was your car wash? How do you feel about it? Asking the when.
I want to inject right here just because it sounds so good. So I work with my father right. So my father works with us, and he's off of a sales company that closed. If we do come in contact with the client, the one thing that has worked amazingly is, how is your day?
Oh, that's simple.
How is your day going?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it literally stopped people in their tracks.
And they'll talk, and that promotes them giving you more information that you can use to continue to market to them. You're just gaining more information, and you're building a relationship at the same time.
So we got out some promotionals this Christmas. One, the Shine mugs. So I left these in. I have some, so I have members that pay for subscription-based services in these condos. So each one of those got a Shine mug. And for our, I'm not gonna say the very light, but for some of our top clients, we make a homemade eggnog every year. We drop that off with different people. And I mean, you see what I'm saying? So little touch points where like you're saying, you building, I think I can't remember what book I read, but we building fans. That's what
it's all about. That's what it's all, because the reality is your business is not about, in order for you to get the volume, repeat customers is the key. It's the key. And like I said, if there's there's a bunch of car wash services that people can go to for whatever reason. Having the relationship built is what turns customers from coming one time to then setting up a subscription. And I don't know if you've done the work to see, how long a person that the average customer that sets up a subscription, how long do they last with you? Because then you can start to figure, because then when you start doing that, you start creating very predictable revenue for yourself. And that's really the key. Like I said, you want it to be a faucet where you can turn it on and turn it off at will. You got too much work, you don't have enough workers, let me turn this faucet down a little bit. Everybody's in, everybody's working, let's turn the faucet up. Let's make some more revenue at this point. And that's the goal that you want to get to in any kind of business that you run. And the way we live in a time where we tout the individualism. So you have to, and every individual is different. There's personas, and that's the whole point of setting up the personas, because the personas represent your lowest hanging fruit. You know what I'm saying? Like the person that's easy to grab, that's going to be, they're between this age and this age. They work this many hours. They look for the convenience of being able to have somebody come on site and wash their car rather than driving to any kind of car wash. And when you start putting those personas together and marketing to the personas rather than one particular person, you are now, you're just giving yourself a bigger net to catch more fish at that point.
Mike, what's
up? Well, I'm not sure if either of you have read it, but the book Delivering Happiness by Tony Hsieh.
I haven't read that.
Is that Hsieh like HS, something like that?
Well, shit. And I feel horrible for forgetting how to spell his name, but Tony Hsieh is the owner of Zappos, or was the owner of Zappos.
Got it.
So he recently just passed away. But
Oh, really?
yeah, man, in some horrible ass freak accident too. But you know, we'll talk about that later. I hope he's resting in peace. The book though is a super game changer, and it talks about exactly what the conversation you guys are having right now, where he made it a point to say, I don't sell shoes. I'm not in the shoe business. I'm in the customer service business.
Mm-hmm.
And his whole thing was the reason why Zappos is so important was because it changed the way that businesses did business. And specifically, one of the things that he did was when he hired his customer service representatives and people called in to get shoes or people called in to get help, you know, with the site or whatever, and trying to purchase product from the site, they would actually make recommendations based on the products that they were buying. So if somebody was buying a running shoe and wanted to get into running, they would find short marathons that within the community of these customers that they can recommend and say, hey, there's a 1 mile marathon that's happening in such and such. And that gave the company the advantage over other companies, because other companies, they weren't going that far. They weren't implementing that tipping point. And the fact that they were able to actually do that, they connected with the customer on a totally different level.
Yep.
And I think that's just extremely important. Like if you know, if your company Shine, you know, is doing a good majority of let's say Mercedes-Benz's, and you know, there's a Mercedes-Benz auto show or a Mercedes-Benz event coming up somewhere within the community that you serve, it'd be really nice to recommend that to somebody whose pride in ownership that owns a Mercedes-Benz. Is like, oh yeah, you know, these are my people. I'm connected there. You know, this is where we can actually connect. And the fact that you are directly but indirectly a car guy, you know, for you to have that information it's priceless. And I wouldn't want to go to any other company because I know that I can't have this relationship anywhere else.
Mr. McCain makes a really great point. And this goes to a question I'm about to ask you, Kevin. But it's the idea of having your business become what's called a subject matter expert. Mm-hmm. And you do that and you display that with a blog. Blogging, I think like blogging is something that all companies should be doing in one form or another, because it sets you up as the subject matter expert. So yes, at the end of the day, you're doing this to sell people, you know, the subscription model of your car wash. But then there's these questions like, what makes your car wash different than going to the, you know, Arco where I'm getting my gas, and, you know, why is your level of a car wash? And a lot of people, you think that they intuitively know this, they don't. You know what I'm saying? And so you want to say like, yo, this is the kind of quality that you get with the system that we use. The system that we use takes away the hard water from, or whatever it is, whatever that situation is. And you write a blog on why systems that are like the ones you use are better than going to like a Simonized wash or this kind of wash or that kind of wash, or even like a hand wash. What are you know, and when you display those kinds of things, it's like there's people that will read that, be like, yo, I didn't know that. I didn't know like car washes were that, you know, in depth with, you know, why you want to get this kind of wash versus this other kind of wash outside of the convenience factor that you already are providing, which is kind of the inherent thing that most people will be drawn to. But there's other information about, you know, your car wash system. When you like you were talking about bringing your son to work and all this other stuff, I'm sure he knows that there's a way to wash that car that's, you know, that's more conducive to getting it clean than other ways of going about washing that car. And so you can speak to those kinds of things, and you're informing customers with blog posts, and that whatever is in your blog post now, that's an additional piece of content that can now be minimized into an Instagram post, a Facebook post, a LinkedIn post, whatever it is. And that's doing, that part about advertising. You're now informing people not just about your service, but why your service is the one that we all need to be coming to if we're looking to get our car washed, and so, and again, these are things that a lot of smaller businesses kind of don't do, you know what I'm saying? And, a lot of smaller businesses just don't have the manpower to sit back, but, doing something like, and you seem like the type of person, Kevin, that you probably keep like a journal and things like that on a semi-regular basis, if not every day. These are things that you can be writing in your journal topic about, like, if you go to I'm sure you go to like certain trade shows and things like that for
hardly never.
Really?
Hardly never. Yeah.
Okay. Well, even if the product that you use, they got you to buy the product based on a certain set of criteria, that is going to let you give your customers the satisfaction that they want. And so you can even use some of that material from their marketing stuff to help you, like, hey, this is the system that we use, and it does this, and that. And so it's not just, we're not just rolling up with a bucket and whatever the situation is, and like you just letting them know that.
Yeah, we just background. I've been waterless car wash since 2007.
Talk about it. See, this is the stuff right here. This is like, we as human beings, we're a narrative species, bro. We're a narrative species. So whenever you have the story and you say things like that, we've been in the business for 15 years, dog. This ain't no new booty. We just trying to make some money kind of stuff. Like, I'm a professional, son. Yeah. And so that way that's where you get to pop your collar a little bit, talk about you, talk about the services, talk about the system. And then people are just like, yo, like, I didn't realize this much went into car detail.
Yeah. So that's the, everything you saying is spot on. I'm kicking myself a little bit because I set up my Saturdays to blog, actually, to write a blog post. Everything that you're saying, doing, repurposing, shrinking, carousel Instagrams to creating little TikTok videos, all the little stuff that you're saying that builds content, we are on. What's new? So another little background, one of my cousins played for the Lakers, played for the Nets, played for the Clippers, Jordan Farmar.
Okay.
When he came back,
I'm a fan.
Yeah. When he came back from Israel, playing overseas over there, I think he went from Israel to Turkey, and then he came back home. He had met I'm going to say a user experience designer or product designer from Amazon on a flight. So this guy, he had created an app, a furniture app that allowed augmented reality. And this is what, we're in 2021. This is about 2015, maybe.
Okay, so way before the AR thing really even took off.
So he's doing the augmented reality in his app and end up getting cease and desist by IKEA, because they're like, yo, we never told you can use our catalog. He's just using his app. You see what I'm saying? He's not, I don't even know how he could benefit off of them buying, because they would have to buy through IKEA. But anyhow, long story short, this guy comes in, amazing dude. Initially, business is always funky when it gets up to the ladders, but we built the app. Long story short, we built the first app, car wash app on demand, similar to Uber.
Okay.
So we built this app out. We did the whole Shark Tank, pitched everybody from Magic Johnson, Jessica Alba, and the Honest Company, all the way to Stock Cross, which is also an investment company, $1 billion. We sitting at the table, first time in my life sitting at the table with billionaires pitching, concepts and asking for money. So anyway, we ended up selling that company. So I have all this, you see what I'm saying? I had all this different knowledge from everywhere. So I wanted to compile that into what I'm doing now. So I'm learning all of that, but I still need little tweaks and tricks to bump me up. And I'm just trying to figure it because I want to scale and get out of this space. But everything you saying is on point. Like we've been, like I say, blogging. So I also just got an app for my company. So when I write a blog post, it push notificates to the app. So the only reason why I wanted the app was to push notify, which would push me further than you having to go and, find my email or I think the text messages is great because I do have a text blast system.
Mm-hmm.
But something about being able to click the app and see everything in one space,
yeah,
is truly amazing. So
yeah,
that's my goal.
That's what they call web 3.0. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like in the future, in the next 10 years, websites as we know them today are going to go away, and everything is going to be, most things will be app based at that point. And so by developing an app, you're just putting yourself ahead of that game, ahead of that curve, and you'll be ready, and in the meantime, you're still going to have people that, people have different user preferences. Some people like going on Google and just doing a search. A lot of people don't. A lot of people would much rather, like you say, have the app where they can just click directly where they need to go. They know you are the person that's now the provider of the service that I'm messing with. I'm gonna click on the app, and that's especially for your subscribers. And if you can do things like add a payment method, you can change payment methods, or you can do like little things. Exactly. Make little toggles to whatever the account information is. Man, you just put yourself ahead of the game because you're just making it more convenient for the customer. You're making it easier for them to access you. And
I think what they like a lot more too is they're able to see their purchase history.
Yeah.
So I don't know why that would excite anybody, but you see what I'm saying? It does. They like, oh, I can see, everything. I'm like, yeah, go right.
Well, I would imagine you probably have a lot of business owners too. So there's a lot of people that want the receipt so that they can write shit off.
For sure.
And so, like, if you're getting a lot of people, like you say, you go into a big part of your customers are part of these, complexes that aren't, the fuddy-duddy joints. There's a lot of business owners, like you said. These are people that, that's a business expense at that point. And so now we're making it easier for you to download your receipts, get your payment history. It's itemized by date. It just makes it easier for them.
That's a message. That's
Yeah.
a message to put. That's a message to push.
That's
yeah.
it.
And also too, it's a blog to write.
That's a blog. Exactly. Exactly. Are you writing off? Are you taking advantage of your business write-offs? And here's how it applies to our service.
Or ask the question as the title, because I found that really works well when you write the question as your actual title. Can I write off my car wash as an entrepreneur or as a business owner?
Yep.
Because as soon as that shit gets Googled, it goes directly to wherever you put that up, those exact phrases and words.
Mm-hmm.
I know I do. I write my car washes off.
As you should.
Yep. So let's talk about I still want to I know we've been on 2 solid hours, probably at least a solid more 15. I just want to just kind of condense.
Let's do it.
Man, this has been such a great conversation. I'm kind of like giddy. I don't know if it's showing on the thing. I'm real giddy on the inside. But how should people be using social media? I know you two, y'all are. I know my boy Mike going through the ringer right now for that PhD, and Steven, man, you sound hella informed on marketing, especially in the digital space. I mean, to me, that's the only thing business is about, is marketing. Outside, like, I don't even think the product necessarily matters, as we can see. If you can market, if you can find the people who want that product or service, or tell them why they should use this product or service, regardless if they want it, I think you can be successful in business.
Right.
And just to piggyback off of that, I think you used the right word. If you can find people, and I feel like that's why marketing, especially social media marketing, is extremely important, is because it's where the people are. The people are on social media. I mean, it's just fucking proven. And if you know exactly where your client is, then you know exactly how to, well, I don't want to say how, but I mean, that 50% of the battle is done. You know what I mean? Knowing is half the battle. And once you know where they are, all you have to do is let them know what you have. You know what I mean? Could you imagine if the dope man wasn't on the corner anymore, and he was in a community of people who do dope? Then
they did it. Dope houses. Not only this is where I'm at, come on inside and use it too.
That's it.
Yeah.
You ain't gotta go nowhere.
Bro, like you're
that's
like,
it.
Yeah, well, you're the dispensary of car washes.
Yeah. I would say that it's very important. It's very important to understand the industry that you're in. Not all businesses do well advertising on social media. Not all verticals are necessarily utilizing social media as, you know, one of the main ways, as one, like what we call channels. There's different channels within digital marketing. So the social media channel isn't conducive to all businesses. And that's number one to understand. You know, if you're the contracts that you sign, I would say are probably more important, and that's off social media kind of, when you're looking for new complexes to contract with. Now, once you're in that building, that kind of changes the thought process at that point, right? Especially if the idea is to take customer. I think where you would shine the most, Kevin, is on social media, aiming at you. I think you want to aim at converting the once, the twice using your service into the subscription model. And I think that's where you would really shine with
I see what you did there.
Yeah, I'm loving it.
That's where I think that's where you would get the most traction out of using social media for that specific kind of customer. You know, the person who's aware of your business, and now you want to entice them to go from a single use every couple of weeks to like, I'm your guy now. Like, I want to be your guy that does your car. I know I've already done it a couple times. You got the CL6, right? Yeah, because when I wash it this way, I'm gonna do, that kind of thing. And so I think, that's where your social media usage would be probably of the best, profitability for you. And that's just off the top of the head. I don't know the in-depth, way that your customers kind of.
We just having great conversation. No,
absolutely.
No pressures. So I want to ask this to both of y'all. So you made the statement that social media, not all verticals are conducive to all businesses per se, or all industries. Can it be? Is there a space where people are missing? And I'm gonna say this morning I woke up. My boy Brandon, he not here. He helped launch this with me. He does customized flooring, right? Mm-hmm. So I did a quick search on customized flooring, found a few companies, but all these companies was getting like 1 and 2 likes, like on a post. And I'm trying to think, where is the disconnect? Is it that you don't need social media to buy flooring? I mean, it's obvious, but why aren't people drawing, like, or is he not pulling? You see what I'm saying? Where is that connection or disconnection at?
To me, like a flooring company, the channel that would work best is like SEO and like Google ads, I would say. I would say that a flooring company is very much based on proximity. So like, you know, if you're in the LA area, there's not going to be a dude from San Diego that's going to, you know, purchase, that's going to look to you to come down to San Diego and do the flooring. There's tons of flooring guys in San Diego that'll do that. And because it's so geographically specific, that makes me think that a targeted ad, like doing SEO on your page to make sure that, you know, people who search for flooring in a certain geographic location, you're going to be the first, or at least among the first, you know, websites that pops up in that search. But also like a Google ad, you know, figuring out your Google ad spend and what keywords you want to bid on in your Google ad spend is probably, for that kind of business, the best channel. And that's where they're going to get the majority of their clientele from, rather than social media. Because the fact of the matter is if I need, you know, I need flooring in my house, right? I'm not going to pull up Instagram to be like, who's the good flooring dude? Da 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 da. Even if I've seen a bunch of flooring accounts on my Instagram feed for whatever reason, more than likely, I'm still going to do a search on Google to see who's in my area, what kind of reviews do they have, you know, all that kind of stuff is what I'm really going to look for. And then, as an aside, I may after that go look at their Instagram to see if they have any, you know, any examples of their work, just so I can see it. But a lot of places will have that on their website just off rip. So, you know, it's getting into the psychology of the person who wants the product that you're looking for. Like, that's the big benefit of digital marketing as compared to old school traditional marketing, is that it's a better way of connecting to people who are already searching for the product that you offer. Flooring, I'm gonna put flooring into my key search, you know, or there's a couple other keywords that I might use to look for a flooring company. But the psychology of the person who is shopping for flooring, that psychology is not, let me check Instagram first and see who recommends who. It's, I'm going to do a Google search and find who is in the area first. And then from that list of people who are in my area, I'm going to look on their websites and I'm going to see who is, you know, doing what I'm looking to have done, whether it's custom flooring, wood, you know, whatever specific type of flooring you're looking for. Instagram, Facebook is not the first place that people go. At that point, that's like a yellow pages search, right? People back in the day, they would look, flooring. Let me look in the yellow pages under flooring. It's the same thing on Google. People are going to do a search for flooring and find your flooring company on Google via SEO or via a Google ad long before they say, let me find out what's on Instagram. Unless I'm a friend of the person that does that flooring, and I already know that this is something that you do, I'm gonna go to your Instagram first and see what kind of stuff. But otherwise, like, if I don't know a flooring guy, I'm gonna just Google it. And so that you have to get into the psychology of the person that's looking for that kind of service. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, that's not the place that people go to for that. Now, if I have a book, let's say, you know, 10 to get in, at that point, you know what I'm saying? That's where I'm gonna go to my social media at that point, because that's, you know, I'm self-published, whatever the case may be. You know, I want to bring that person to my website and let them know that, hey, this book is available. This is something that you may not have been looking for, knew that you wanted, but I'm going to entice you to let you know what's out there. And then it's like, oh, shoot, I'm interested in that. I want to buy that book. So something like that is more conducive for social media channels Whereas a service like flooring, I would even venture to say a service such as yours, Kevin, Shine, I think you're going to do more in spending your advertising dollar on on good SEO for your website or your app, or a Google ad. Because long before I go on Instagram and make my decision based on an Instagram post, I'm more than likely just gonna Google, what's a custom car wash that's in the area? Shine pulls up. Let me check them out. And then I can go to the website, see the pictures, see the blog, see all that other stuff. So, and that's why I mean, like, the psychology of the user of that product or service is going to be your key to figuring out what channels are going to be the most conducive for your revenue.
What's up, Mike?
Yeah, I think you make great points, Steve. I think the most important point is the psychology. I feel like,
and the reality is, all digital marketing is based on the psyche. It's based on human psychology. The way the feedback loop happens on the algorithm, it's based on human psychology. And so you have to know what channel is going to be the best channel for your particular product. I'm sorry to cut you off, but you just made a good point I wanted to piggyback on real quick.
I appreciate that. I feel like based on that psychological strategy, it may behoove business owners that have services and products to go indirectly in order to market whatever they have going on. Because a lot of times, like Kevin said, if I know, if I have a cousin that, that does such and such, let's say flooring, right? Let's say, so my stepfather is, he's a carpenter, right? So I would create a post as a custom flooring company that is conducive or that appeals to carpenters, because they can appreciate the standard or the quality that I have with regard to, what my company has to offer. And based on that, that tickles their fancy. They'll automatically begin to share whatever the post is on social media to their immediate circle. And it'll you'll indirectly have an impact on your target audience by going indirectly to them, by going directly to who it is that actually fucks with your business. Like right. So I wanted to, let's say if I wanted to start like a bureau that regulated all landscapers and gardeners, I'm not gonna go on social media and be like, yo, I'm here. I'm going to Home Depot. I'm going to Lowe's. I'm going to all the spots that the landscapers and gardeners go to. I'm going to advertise to them and show them all this beautiful ass landscaping and be like, yo, you can do this, or you can recommend me if you can't do this. And so by doing that, they're going to then blast it out to whoever their folks are and be like, yo, I can do this. And guess whose post they're going to be sharing? So it's damn near a chess move to go in directly and say, hey, I had this car wash service. If you're going to, like Steve said earlier, your product providers, like fucking Black Magic or whatever it is, and like, yo, this car wash was done using the Black Magic product, and you just shout them out. They'll shout Shine out to all of their followers, and indirectly you're going to start having more people come through. But with regard to your initial question, the answer to that is, what is the business trying to accomplish? Are they trying to influence? Are they trying to remind? Or are they trying to motivate? You know what I mean? So if they're trying to get more followers, or if they're trying to motivate people or get brand recognition, then they have to go into that that post with that mindset, like, yo, this is specifically for this. And so I'm either going to advertise to these people, or honestly, if I'm looking at custom flooring, I'm probably going to go to a site like Etsy where I can just get a variety of custom flooring examples that I can either repin or like Pinterest or whatever.
Pinterest is a big one for those kind of businesses. Pinterest is huge.
Now watch this.
Yeah.
So in this whole search, one thing that y'all haven't hit yet is now you got Instagram shops.
Mm-hmm.
And what popped up first was money, like pricing on these. So when I was looking, I was going, damn, if you're doing Instagram, Facebook for custom flooring, you need to be in the shops.
Yeah.
Because they are now competing with Google.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. You need to be everywhere.
Let me ask you guys this. Let me ask you guys a question. Mike, I know you recently, and you might even be still in the process of like some home renovations, right?
That shit is done, and I'm so happy it is.
And Kevin, in the last 3 years, have you done anything like home renovations, anything like that?
Nothing particular at my house, but my father has. Yeah.
Okay. The contractors that you used for that, how did you find them?
This was word of mouth. So one of my
word of mouth.
Jordan Farmar's father is actually a contractor, so he brought in some people.
Okay. Word of mouth. And Mike, yours?
Okay. Actually, the folks actually did my neighbor's bathroom, and I was like, I like that, and so I just, I was like, slide me their number. So it was word of mouth.
Word of mouth. Do you imagine that if, let's say, you have to get your roof done in 2 years from now, how do you think you would go about finding the contractor to do that?
I already got a roof guy. Like Sam has used somebody, and he's already given me his.
So word of mouth again.
Folks.
So
word of mouth again. And Kevin?
From me not having to do that, so if I had to think, I think I would definitely be on a search. I don't know if that's cool
for that reason
or not.
Yeah, and it's for that reason. Like, and see, this is what surveys do. Surveys allow you to ask questions like that and get, some honest feedback, even if it's people who aren't your customers yet. Just posing a question like that to people that gives you a real good insight on how those people actually connect with businesses such as that. And so, that's why I would say that kind of business where you're bringing in a contractor, I feel like Instagram isn't really social media is not really the place. Again, there's a Pinterest. I think Pinterest is interesting because people go to Pinterest for ideas. So before they even start shopping. So that's where you want to get in on that level. Pinterest allows you to do that. Instagram, not so much, even though they do have the shops and things like that on there now. And I think, there's a chance with the shops being there that there is going to be a little bit more competition with Google. But the reality is Google search is the way that people find things. It's not Bing.
Right.
It's not
Yahoo.
The number one search engine in the world. That is the number one, that is the standard, is Google. Number 2 is Amazon. So, these are that I would say, you're not going to sell flooring like that necessarily on Amazon. You're not going to sell the service of flooring on Amazon. You want people who are in your area to know about your service. And the way you do that, the best way that you do that is with SEO and with Google Ads. Pinterest is gonna, you'll be able to warm up some colder leads on Pinterest, and make people kind of aware, and you have ideas of, your designs with the flooring or however you're doing it. But number one place is going to be for digital marketing is going to be SEO via Google and Google Ads for that kind of service. So social media, I think what you stand to make in terms of revenue off of social media in that kind of business is negligible based on, when you compare it to what you're going to do via Google Ads, what you're going to do via SEO. Those two are going to blow anything social media related out of the water.
So let's go. So week 2022, second day. What should the majority of companies, that's too vague because everybody's different. So this is what I was saying. So with Instagram, and Facebook, you have the ability to create visual ads, very, very high quality ads, right? Mm-hmm. And you can really pinpoint, or at least you could, I'm not sure with all the new restrictions, but you can really pinpoint your market in that local bubble that you're talking. Mm-hmm. So let's say a person went that route because it's easy to advertise to a specific area. And let's stay on the flooring. What should that person who's doing flooring encompass in their social media page? So Instagram specifically.
I think on Instagram, the kind of posts that you want to do is posts that are showing quality. I think that's where social media shines for a business like that, is that aspect of being a product, a product specialist. And so now you get to give information not just about what you do specifically, but like the intricacies that go into flooring. And those are kinds of things that, especially people who are shopping for flooring, they're doing their research at that point. And so now you want to be the subject matter expert and say, this kind of flooring, here are some examples of like styles that people are doing that are popular, and here's why, and here's what's in vogue now, here's what's cheaper. Hey, here's what might even be energy efficient. This is more energy efficient flooring for you to have in your home as opposed to this other type of flooring. Things like that. At that point, you're not even necessarily trying to sell your service. You are a subject matter expert in the profession that you have. And so when you are doing that on social media, that's the slow burn. But what happens is if enough people follow, if enough people get interested, you're going to be the guy that sticks in their mind when it's like, oh, I'm looking for flooring. Now, the other part about that is there's the B2C aspect, but there's also the B2B aspect, right? So it's like, I don't want to just do flooring for one individual. I want a complex, an apartment complex that's doing major renovations to hire me to do all of the renovations for all of the floors within there. So at that point, you're doing more B2B work, which is not going to be social media related. You're going to be going and trying to develop relationships with, the people at these complexes, the people at with that make the decisions for like, if it's a government office or a government building or municipality. Because those represent bigger contracts. And so those bigger contracts, oftentimes social media is still not the place that you're going to be doing that advertising, and again, if I'm the decision maker for San Bernardino County schools, for instance, and I have 5 schools that need flooring renovated, I'm going to do a Google search like that. I'm going to see who's in the area, and that's it. Now, unless, I have already followed a social media account of a flooring business that, I've seen around and they do good work. But that's too chancy. It's hard to really pinpoint that down. You're better off going directly to getting a list of apartment complexes in the area and then doing an email marketing campaign. That's going to be way more effective for you on that level than going to Instagram, going to Facebook, going to Twitter.
Do Google searches lead to Instagram and Facebook searches? Because it seems like that's like the progression now. Like you see a company you like, okay, let me go check out Instagram.
But now
let's see the portfolio, right?
But here's the difference. The difference is from Instagram, I can't book you directly from Instagram. That's still another touch point at where I have to go from Instagram to the link that's under your Instagram profile to now go to your page. And again, if I just do a search in Google and I go directly to the page, I'm still going to get all of that information, especially if you have a carousel on your page that has your Instagram feed or your Facebook feed sitting right there on the website.
Are you talking about Google Business? Are we talking about Google Business when we say that?
I'm just talking about a website in general. Like if I if I'm a flooring company and I set up a website and I have an Instagram presence, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that there's a carousel that shows my Instagram feed at the bottom of the page. So then directly from my page, they can just scroll and see the work that I do. Like I said, it's just the psychology of the buyer. The psychology of the buyer for that kind of business is 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be Instagram where that relationship starts. That relationship is most likely going to start either from a word of mouth, or if not word of mouth, it's going to start from a Google search. 9 times out of 10 for a business like that, that's what it is. So, you still want to have an Instagram presence just because like it's kind of expected at this point. But the amount of effort, the amount of money that you sink into the ads you're doing on Instagram compared to the amount of time, the amount of effort, and the amount of spend that you're going to have on SEO and Google ads, that's going to pay more dividends for you than anything that you do on social media.
And I agree with that, but I also believe that it's extremely important to have social media presence because
I agree.
Yes, so I feel like social media, like you said, is a standard and it's expected. But the other part about that, and we actually just had a discussion question about this in my class, is like what's the benefit of advertising on social media? And realistically, on top of it being a standard, it adds a layer of rapport, right? Mm-hmm. It's almost like instant rapport that you get when you have social media presence. Because, I mean, honestly, let's face it, they're building the metaverse because your digital persona at this point is more important than your physical.
But see, this is why people who design flooring, right? And so people who are going to be designing flooring for like a VR for a VR kind of thing, those are people that are going to be selling more of those kinds of things. Now, here's what I gotta jump after this because I'm on like 3% battery right now. But the great thing about digital marketing is that you can prove all of these theories by actually doing, right? So what you do is you set up all of the channels. You set up Instagram, you set up, Google ads, you set up your SEO. And the beauty about it is if your website is designed the right way, you can see where your clicks are coming from. You can see it. So just run the experiment, right? At the end of the day, it's just about running the experiment to see what comes back. And I guarantee if you do that, you're going to be able to see how many of your clicks come from Instagram, how many of your clicks come from Google ads, how many of your clicks come from SEO. And then you're going to be able to say, based on those clicks, how many people actually converted to a sale, or how many people actually gave their information to become a hot lead. How many? And I guarantee you, if you run that experiment for that type of business, it's not even going to be a question. Just run the experiment though. That's what I would say. Run the experiment. Don't negate any channels, especially when you're first starting. Because the reality is if you start running that experiment and then you see social media is not working as well as you just make the decision I'm not going to invest as much time on social media as I am on what's working, you know, where most of my clicks, where most of my conversions are actually coming from. So that's the great thing about digital marketing, is that you can trot those things out, and in real time, you know, within a week, you can start getting those numbers. Within a month, you'll even have more numbers. Within 3 months, you'll have so much information and so much data that you'll know exactly where to put all of your efforts. Maybe 10% of my time is spent marketing on social media. Maybe 80% of my time is spent fixing my SEO, and then maybe another 10% on Google Ads, or whatever, you know, whatever. You get that graph that tells you where most of your stuff is coming from. So that will tell you right then and there, this is where I need to make my investment with my time and with my dollars.
Where
this is what's going to.
Where should they be looking at this information from?
So there's a lot of different tools, but like if you have an Instagram business page will give you how much click through, how many people, based on, you know, it'll show you all of that detail behind the scenes. Whoever set up your website should have a tool in there where they're able to tell where a person came onto your website from. Did they search? What was the keyword that they used to get to your website? All of that info. And when you have Google Business set up, it gives you all of that information on the back end of Google Business. Mm-hmm. So you like information, knowledge to a certain extent is power. Power is power, but knowledge can give you power. And so again, if you run the experiment, you'll be able to see how much of that business is being generated off of social media versus how much is being generated from SEO, and how much is being generated from a Google ad spend as well.
Amazing. I appreciate
Run the experiment. That's what our presence on this earth really represents in every aspect. Is we're scientists, bro. Somebody is going to tell you something. Remember that conversation about theory versus putting shit into action? You know, theory is great, but when you put into action, that's where you really get the feedback that's going to tell you the real result of all of the shit that you're doing. Run the experiment. If somebody tells you, hey, I believe in Jesus, and if you do this, and this, you're going to get this at the end of it. Okay, let me try it out. I'm going to pray every day. I'm going to do this, and then let me see what I get back in return. Versus if you know, Buddhism teaches another way of attaining that enlightenment. Let me try that now. If the Christianity thing didn't work. That's what all of this stuff, you're not supposed to believe anything on face value. You are supposed to use your own experience to verify whether the hypothesis is correct or not at the end of the day.
Amazing. Hey.
Okay, I'm at 1%, y'all. I gotta go.
All right, bro.
I definitely gotta run, but I'm back next week, yo. I love
yes. Yes.
For sure, bro.
Yeah, man.
Enjoy.
I appreciate it, Kevin. I think this is awesome that what you're doing, bro. You're creating a space for like-minded people to just sit and have discussions and the free flow of information. This is what the internet is. This is where the internet shines the best for people like us, bro. It's things like this. So I appreciate, Mike. I appreciate the invitation. I loved every moment of it. Listening to y'all brothers is like giving me ideas on things that I need to do and get correct. And I love it, man.
Yeah, man.
Enjoy you, man. We'll see you next week.
All right, brother.
All right.
Luke.
Peace.
Yeah.